Hey everybody, welcome back to another week of the Lollygaggers Dynasty Recap. It is me, your host, Zang, and I am joined by my fellow recently defeated co-host, Ace Garcia. Ace, for coming in.
Intro.
Yeah, a little softer this week than we did last week, huh?
Yeah, it's a brutal week, man.
that was a tough one.
Week.
One of the most fun Sundays I've had watching baseball in a while, though. I won't lie. Really,
Yes.
up until Kyle Schwarber hit that home run, I was having the time of my life.
Yeah, pretty much right until that game started, I was having the time of my life.
Yeah, it felt pretty good, but I'm sure plenty of you listening, some of certainly our opponents here, are feeling pretty good about Sunday. And man, some really close matchups. We had two that finished just within single digits of each other, and all of the rest except for, of course, that one that was was kind of a blowout there. Which even that one still ended in double digits. They were pretty close coming into that final day, so that was quite a bit of fun. Boy, Ace and I were talking beforehand. 4 more weeks of regular season before we get to the playoffs. It is getting
good.
Late. We will, just as a little reminder, have 4 weeks worth of playoffs, but that's only 3 periods. So Week 23 will be our first round of the playoffs. Week 24 will be our second round of the playoffs, and then Week 25 is really 2 weeks long. It's those last 2 weeks of the season. The idea there just getting kind of a bigger sample size, and things get a little wonky in that last week or so. So making sure that somebody isn't winning or losing the championship off some weird hijinks based on the last 3 games of the season or something like that.
Yeah, I totally understand it here. I mean, you want to see the heavyweights clash, and getting 2 weeks of whoever's in the championship game. That's going to be a fun time for us all, to say the least.
Yeah, we got the nice little preview of that in those 10-day matchups. Got to see how fun those extended ones can be. But for now, we are in Week 18, and let's get started with Inten versus Al Martinet. Inten came into the week in 8th place, going up against Al Martinet, who is hanging down in 10th. The first time they matched up, Inten did face off against Al Martinet. So for two teams, definitely maybe jockeying to try and get back in the picture, or even maybe see that draft pick. There was a little bit on the line. Al Martinet winning would mean they would be tied, and of course, as we discussed a lot last week, it all comes down to total points scored. On that first day, Al Martinet made a big statement, 160 points to just 48 from Inten. Vlad had 13. Willie Adames heating up with 10. Hunter Goodman also with 10. Andre Palante with 37. Yoshinobu Yamamoto with 36. It was not a quiet day in the office for Al Martinet. He held the lead with 89 points on Tuesday to 79 from Inten. Giolito's 26 were helpful for him there. A big day on Wednesday, another 100-plus point performance for Al Martinet. PCA with 10, Brian Bayo with 27, Will Warren with 23, 105 to just 80 for Inten. Only 5 points on Thursday for Al Martinet to 14 for Inten. He held it there, and as you can imagine, through the end of the weekend, he held it as well. 59, 15, 56. So another great day from Yamamoto on Sunday with 27 points. And over on Inten's side, one of his recent trade acquisitions, Lucas Giolito, scoring 36 points for him in a great performance against the Astros today. But unfortunately, that was not quite enough, as Al Martinet did go wire to wire, winning the matchup 494 to 419, 75 points. Separating the two of them, that now has both Al Martinet and Inten sitting at 7 and 11 and tied on the season series.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think this was the biggest blowout, quote unquote,
it was,
of the week, and it wasn't even that much of a blowout. So yeah, it just goes to show you how close these games were. Obviously, Inten battling for a playoff spot, kind of. Similarly to me, playoff hopes might have been diminished with a loss here. It's going to be, like you mentioned, only 4 weeks left in the season. Even if he goes 4-0, 11-11, probably doesn't get you in, given the fact that the people already in the playoff spot are all at 11 wins, so you would need a absolute catastrophe of a fall off from one of the other players in the playoffs. But yeah, it was a hard-fought match. And I think this one, Al Martinet sort of dragging Inten down to the toilet bowl with him.
A little bit down there. They might be looking for losses over wins, if you catch my drift.
Misery
Yeah,
loves company.
both at 7-11 now. It would take something of a miracle run for either of them to squeak into the playoffs. There, Intent has had that run this season though, so you never know. And of course, Al Martinet we know has been wheeling and dealing his way through. Only 3 more days for him to make those trades, so you never know. They did have some solid performers there. Yandy Diaz with 25 points was Intent's best batter, and Lucas Giolito, the aforementioned Red Sox starter, with 63 points. Got him. Was one of our potent pitchers. Really nice performance from Giolito. Shea Langoliers with just 35 was one of our best batters this week. When we get to wasted waivers, I'm going to talk over best batters. This was the single weirdest week for best batters I've ever seen. And then, unsurprisingly, Yoshinobu Yamamoto was one of our potent pitchers. 64 points for the Dodgers ace. Boy, he has been everything they were hoping for this year.
Yeah, too bad the run support hasn't been when he's pitching.
It's been a little tough. It's similarly on Al Martinet's team a bit there. He's definitely getting some help there, although some strong performances, of course, from those young A's. Notable for Al Martinet this week, big drop-off from Nick Kurtz. Only 16 points, pardon me. Of course, he had over 100 last week, so if you average that out, that's still 2 pretty good weeks, but definitely slowed down from that white-hot moment that he had. So keep an eye on him, and I'm sure once he gets back to, Sacktown and hitting in that park, he'll be fine. He seems okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about Kurtz at all. And Langoliers, man, I think credit needs to be given. He's put together a couple of solid weeks here now in fantasy, which obviously translates to putting some solid weeks together in the majors. So I'm, very happy to see that. I semi kind of root for the A's. I think we all kind of have a soft place in our hearts for the A's and the A's fans, just with the sheer atrocities they've had to deal with. But yeah, it's good to see players, on the A's do good. Thankfully, the trade deadline has passed, so he is safe for now. But we'll see what happens next season.
Wait till he gets to ARB. Yeah, obviously not that we have any A's fans in here, but, when you trade a guy away like Matt Olson, that's a hard pill to swallow. So it's cool to see Langoliers, who obviously was the headliner in that package, coming back, that he's doing well. That makes you happy. You love to see that.
Absolutely.
Our second matchup of the week was Okie Sooner coming in at 9th place, going up against the top dog, Bows, Bros, and O's. First time that they face off, Bows did take the match against Okie and was looking to secure that season series, although where their record's at right now, that will probably not be the biggest determiner for their playoff seeding, but it never hurts to have it just in case. On the first day, Bows did come out strong, 77-56. Naylor had 12, Arias had 10, and Cedric Mullins had 13. Okie Sooner, however, took the lead from him on Tuesday, scoring 90 points to just 57 for Bows. Gunnar Henderson's 24 points. Yes, 24 points on that day. Helped him take that lead. Boy, that's got to be tough for Bows, watching Gunnar do that to your team.
Yeah.
Bows
like,
wouldn't...
Yes!
Oh, shit, he's on Okie's team. God damn it.
Anybody else but him.
Anybody but him. Bows did not sit behind him for very long, though, as he took the lead back on Wednesday. Thank God for Jeffrey Springs and his 31 and 23 points from Logan Webb.
Hey, we've been saying that more often.
It's 3 weeks in a row now, I think. Hold on.
We got to get a shirt.
We got to get a shirt. This. Yeah, that'll be our first pod merch. Thank God for Jeffrey Springs.
Thank God for Jeffrey Springs.
All 12 of us will totally get
love
the joke. It'll be perfect.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah. Okie Sooner didn't want to sit in the back too much, though, and on Thursday took the lead right back. On Thursday, Cole Young had 15 points for him. It would go back again on Friday when Bows took the lead back 86-75. David Peterson and Joe Ryan both scoring 22 points, and Brady Singer with 36. That was Bows, Okie, Bows, Okie, Bows, Okie. Oh, pardon me, Bows. And then he held it again on Saturday. But unfortunately, that pendulum would swing back the other way, as Okie, scoring 90 points on Sunday to just 32 from Bows, squeaked out a 46-point win, 4 331 to 385. Shanuel and Jazz both had 10 points there for Okie Sooner on Sunday, and Cease with 31 made up for almost all of that difference there. Okie Sooner is now sitting at 8-10, and Bose is sitting at 11-7.
Yeah, it's a huge upset in terms of standings this week. Obviously, I've in a couple of I think already. Damn, it's been so long already. But after our All-Star Game break show we did, I had predicted that Okie was going to rise through the ranks and sneak a playoff spot into there. Yeah, obviously he's showing it. He's proven it. He's showing that he wants it. His team is showing that he wants it. I don't know if he'll have quite enough. He's still neck and neck. Definitely not totally out of it yet. Has a big matchup coming up next week, and we'll talk about that one some more.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot would need to break right his way, but again, it's possible. And like we called in 10 out a long time ago, and he was right in the thick of it for a bit here. And we thought some people would never lose or some people would never win. So like I'm not ready to write anything up, especially in this first year. God, it has just been crazy
very
how
close.
much has changed. Yeah. Very close. Gunnar Henderson, mostly led by that 24 point on Tuesday, was Okie's best batter. And as you would imagine, he was one of our best batters as well, scoring 47 points on the week. Dylan Cease with 38 was his best pitcher for the week. And over on Bo's side, the singles machine, Luis Arias, with 31 points was his best pitcher. And off of that, just one pitching outing was Brady Singer with 36 as his best pitcher. Seemed like just kind of a tough week for Bose, where a lot of his guys kind of only got one start. Often when you see that, though, the one start pitcher is your best pitcher. It usually means most of your guys just got one, and sometimes it breaks that way. It's tough, but that's part of what we deal with here. So I would imagine Bose will be fine, but good win for Okie, and definitely keeps him more in the picture. Above that group of 7 and 11, where they basically need to win out to make it. Okie, I think, could lose one and still make it if things break the right way. So, going to be close for him down the stretch. And, we may see a couple more deals in the next 3 days or so if he wants to make that push.
Yeah, well, he's definitely going to have to win next week because, spoiler alert, I won't spoil who's ahead of him. We'll save that for the standings. But he's taking on the person directly above him. So, going to be a big week next week. I think next week for sure. We'll get to that matchup when we get to it.
Boy, is it going to be exciting. Our third matchup was a bit of a heavyweight battle. One team strong in playoff position and one just outside the line fighting to make their way in. Mike in second place and Ace, who came in seventh. The first time they met up, Ace did take down Mike. So Mike is looking to, even up that season series there. And it was a strong first day for him, but it was a stronger first day for Ace, who scored 57 points to just 56 for Mike, just 1 point separating them. Boy, was it close. Colson Montgomery over on Mike's side with 11 points, and Michael Garcia with 11 over on Ace's side. Ace did hold the lead through Tuesday with 44 points, the 11 from Bellinger. Couldn't quite get Mike over the hump there, and then Ace did hold it through Wednesday as we had one of our closest single-day matchups. Both scored 61 points, but Ace had 61.2 and Mike had just 61.1. Ace did hold that lead through Wednesday as well. Kerry Carpenter with 15 and Nate Evaldi with 29, always showing up here. On Thursday, though, Mike wrestled that lead away, scoring 53 points to just 23, for Ace. That 30-point difference helped him squeak ahead to the lead. 32 points from George Kirby made up for more than that. He has been fantastic since coming back. Friday, though, Ace pulled it right back with 113 points. O'Neal Cruz with 11 and Nick Pavetta with 36. Mike's turn to have a 100-day point on Saturday, though, as he scored 107 points to just 42 for Ace, thanks to Alonzo, Boyd, and Kelly scoring 16, 37, and 21 respectively. And then on our final day, as we came in very, very close, it was Mike who came out victorious, scoring 75 points to 56. It all came down to Sunday Night Baseball. Joe Boyle had 17 for Ace. Sean Burke had 14 for him, but unfortunately for Ace, over on Mike's side, Devers had 16, J-Rod had 10, and Christopher Sanchez had 36 points, went through 8 innings, shutout. He's incredible. One of the true sleepers of this year. And unfortunately for Ace, we saw minus 12 from Sir Anthony Dominguez. I thought that might be enough to squeak it in for him.
For sure when I saw that. I was like, oh, dude, we're good.
And then then Christopher Sanchez came. It was just 18 points separating the two of them. Hold my beer. It feels like that every time he pitches, man. It's always upper 30s. Like, oh my God, he's just been fantastic. Only 28 too. Got a long time in that Phillies rotation for him. Yeah, just 18 points separating the two of them. It was 417 for Mike to 339 for Ace. Mike
399.
399. Thank you so much. 399. Pardon me. I'm reading over a lot of numbers, so I do get them mixed up sometimes.
No, you're good.
I appreciate when
I didn't get blown out.
Yeah, it was close. Only 18 points. Mike is now 12-6 with Ace sitting at 500 at 9-9.
Yeah, this was this one hurt, man. I'm not gonna lie. This one, like you mentioned, back and forth. Was able to wrestle back the lead. I think it was on Friday. It was able to hold it through Saturday. Although I even saw kind of coming into this Sunday, it was gonna be tough. But I felt confident. I had Mizorowski scheduled to start, and then I get the notification he's not starting. He's going on the IL. I'm like, fuck my life. So scrambled. Tried to pick up a starting pitcher that I thought, maybe could get a win or something. Joe Boyle, for a while there was looking great. White Sox had a 5-0 lead. He was pitching well. And leave it to the bullpen and just royally fuck everything up and give up 8 runs, and there went that. So
that's Sean Burke on the White Sox.
Excuse me, sorry, Sean Burke on the. Yeah. Totally, you are right. Yep, my bad. Joe Boyle is the Rays pitcher. My fault. Yes, Sean Burke. So had to kind of try to wrangle something together last second. Unfortunately, it did not matter. Christopher Sanchez laying down the hammer to lock down this win for Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, big win for Mike. I didn't mention this. It was actually tied on Saturday. I didn't sort of mention that in my little burn through there. Yeah, both teams were tied coming into Sunday. So, it was just that little bit that makes a difference. Yeah, Christopher Sanchez, exactly. And boy, you got to figure Mizorowski probably gets 18 there. I don't know. It's tight.
Here's the thing. The other thing you have to think about is Sean Burke got 14. So
that's right. So
is Mizorowski getting 32? Probably not. I mean, you never know.
You never know. He's done it before, but yeah.
It's tough.
That is a tough break, definitely. But a positive break for Mike there, who squeaks out a close win. This one was tightly contested all week, obviously, and really gives him a comfortable lead there. If he were to lose out for the rest of the season, he would still finish 2 games above 500. I think it is safe to say his playoff spot is secure.
Yeah. If we should get like a little sound for "you made it," but I don't know how we'd be able to do it. But Mike, you made it. Yeah,
we're being the Zang and Ace.
Oh man.
Mike's best batter for the week was Cody Bellinger with 26 points there. Boy, for a guy that's been passed around quite a bit, he's appeared a couple times on Mike's best batters now. He really seems to have settled in these last couple months in the Bronx, and I know there are more than a couple teams who have had him who are kind of, oh shit, should I really have traded him away, and all that. So
Belly coming back to bite me in the ass one more time because he started on my team this year.
I forgot you had him too.
I was the first one to have him, and
I promise that was not to rub salt in the wound.
No, I know it wasn't, but I feel like I had to throw that out there just because it is what it is.
That's because you're a good podcaster, and that makes
that's why.
Baby. Christopher Sanchez, the man himself, of course, was one of our potent pitchers for the week with 48 points. Over on Ace's side, Kerry Carpenter,
a little bit.
our good friend.
I'm joking.
What'd you say?
I said that one rubbed it in a little bit.
That one, that's right. What a waiver pickup, Kerry Carpenter.
Yeah, He was on the IL for like
Kerry Bonds.
forever.
Oh, he was. Oh, okay. That's what it was. Never mind. But 30 points from Kerry Carpenter. Solid showing from Detroit's outfielder. And then Nick Pivetta with 36 points. A frequent flyer there for Ace, showing up well. Alrighty. Well, we are down to our fourth matchup as we have the 5th place JMC coming into the week against the 12th place Serial Chillers. It was a bit of a David and Goliath situation. Obviously, we know JMC had a slow start, but gosh, really since week 3 or 4, and especially since, probably week 10 or 11 when Acuna came back, he has been absolutely dominant. But it was quite the matchup. JMC did come out strong, a 64-48 opening day there. Burleson with 11 and the aforementioned Acuna with 12. Brad Lord, the relief pitcher, had 20 points on Monday for Serial Chillers. A little bit of a surprise there. And those 20 points helped lay Serial Chillers into a lead on Tuesday. He did take the lead 69-44. Pasquantino with 14 and Logan Allen with 23. Held it again on Wednesday thanks to Nick Martinez's 24 points. On Thursday as well, on the low-scoring day, JMC with 18 and Serial Chillers with just 10. Chillers did manage to hold on there despite the 15 points from Ben Rice over on JMC's side, but on Friday, JMC would put up the first 100-plus point performance of the matchup, scoring 107 points thanks to William Contreras' 18 points, Volpe's 19, and Gavin Williams' 30, and he would not cede control of the lead for the rest of the matchup. Yuri Perez with 30 and Scherzer with 27 on Saturday. J-Ram with 12 and Terang with 10 over on Serial Chiller's side. And then despite a strong showing of 74 points on Sunday, another 11 from J-Ram, Merrill with 10, Adolis with 14, and Bryce Terang again with 17. That 74 was just not quite enough to squeak it out against JMC, who, although only scored 36 points on that last day, had built up enough of a lead to keep it, to hold on to that lead. It was damn close, though. Just 9 points separated the two of them. A last-second win by JMC, holding on to that lead there. He scored 406 points with Serial Chillers scoring 397. As I said, 9 points separated the two of them. JMC did come out on top. He is now 11-7 with Serial Chillers down at 4-14.
Yeah, this one was... for me, obviously, because being right below JMC in the standings, this one was even tougher to watch to see after I had lost. Because, you figure, all right, you lose. Hopefully the guy ahead of you loses, and, it's kind of just like a wash of a week. But JMC eking out yet another close victory here to put him firmly in that playoff position. 4 games above 500 at 11-7 in Serial. The spoiler attempt, unfortunately, fell just a bit short. I think we were all kind of, rooting for him in the sense of the underdog.
You get it in there. Yeah. It was definitely, we were looking forward to seeing another Serial win, but JMC, finding a way to win. You're exactly right. I mean, I'm looking at a name there. Scherzer with 27 points on Saturday. Obviously, that more than makes up for the difference. That is a lot from Max Scherzer, who I think most of us kind of saw him on this Blue Jays team as, all right, he's going to, kind of ride it out, maybe, see if he can pitch well enough to get traded at the deadline. Obviously, the Blue Jays ended up being very good, and he stayed there, but JMC's been crafty with his pickups this year. Scherzer is one great one, and obviously he's had a few more. He did have a pretty strong week, despite a rather disappointing weekend for his real-world Yankees. He did have a pretty strong week with Yankees. Volpe with 35 points was one of our best batters for the week. As I mentioned, we'll talk about best batters a little more down there. But in terms of total scores for batters on rosters, Volpe had those 35 points there, so very solid for him. And then Yuri Perez on just one start, 31 points there. Very, very, very solid from the Marlins starting pitcher. Over on Serial Chiller's side, I feel like this is another one I can just put into the template and highlight in bold because J-Ram with 40 points was, of course, one of our best batters. He's always putting up those solid 40-plus point performances for Serial Chillers. Then Brad Lord, that relief pitcher I mentioned earlier, had 28 points, and he was Serial Chillers' best pitcher for the week, his most potent pitcher. And I will. This is a little bit of a good and a bad. It is really impressive that the matchup was that close when a relief pitcher was your best pitcher, and it's really not a good sign for a matchup when a relief pitcher is your best pitcher. So a little bit of both there, but yeah.
Yeah, that definitely a tough one. But well, sometimes you take it. Sometimes the relief pitchers kind of put up some monster stats.
They'll put up some good numbers. Serial Chillers is the 2015 Kansas City Royals of our league.
It's just a bullpen of 12 guys deep, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Our penultimate matchup was the 4th place Big Peach coming up against 11th placed Zangarang. Peach did win our matchup last time out, and although head-to-head matchup would not matter too much between the two of us, he was looking to fully take hold of that head-to-head matchup, and of course help his place in the standings. It was a strong first day for me as I scored 49 points, 10 from Bregman and 14 from Vientos, and I did hold it again through the next day, though we were close in points on that day. 76 for Peach, 78 for me. Yainer Diaz had 11, and Sandy and Manaya both put up 20 points for me. Sandy Alcantara there. Big Peach, though, did take the lead back on Wednesday. Simeon with 12 points and Jose Soriano with 26. Yainer again with 10 for me, and Story with 12 wasn't quite enough. On that low-scoring Thursday, Peach held it again, and Friday really catapulted him into the lead with 128 points. Andrew Vaughn with 16, Kyle Stowers with 10, and of course, Robbie Ray with 29. I did get 28 from Jack Flaherty on that day, but it wasn't quite enough. What would be enough is my 162 points on Saturday, which gave me the lead. Lindor with 13, Story with 14, Gallon 21, Rasmussen 27, Woodruff 31. Boy, that's a lot of numbers to read out, but when you score 162 points, it usually comes from a lot of guys there. This was obviously one of our closest matchups coming down to the wire. And on that Kyle Schwarber home run, the Schwarbomb in the 8th inning, Big Peach did squeak out the win by just 4 points. Stowers with 11 points on that last day, and Bassett with 26. Jung-Hoo Lee's 11 and Jeremiah Estrada's 10 were just not quite enough to get me across the line. It was 439 to 435. Like I said, just 4 points separating the two of us. A big win for the Big Peach, as he is now at 11-7, tied with a few big names in this league, and I am enjoying my lone possession of one of the bottom spots at 6-12 now.
Yeah, Big Peach. I mean, it was just the week of underdogs just quite not being able to snatch the victory from jaws of defeat. We got me losing to Mike. We got Serial losing to JMC. And now we got, unfortunately, yourself losing to Big Peach.
I was like doing my grocery shopping today, and I'm thinking it all over. I'm seeing this. I'm going, oh my God, I got the title for the episode. I'm gonna do David, and then the greater than signing Goliath, David over Goliath, because we were all gonna win, and then we all lost. And then we all Sunday lost. Night Baseball, and I was like, all right, we're gonna scrap that. We'll do something else.
And then it was, Goliath just bent over David.
Yeah, Goliath really took care of business on Sunday night.
God damn it, man. Goliath is also known as Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, Kyle Schwarber. He really is Goliath, man.
Yeah, no, he really
Christ. This was obviously a big win for Peach. Really gave him a solid grip on a playoff spot along with some of those other teams. We'll talk about it a little bit when we get down to standings. And it was a pretty spread out win for him. Corbin Carroll with just 27 was his best batter. Robbie Ray with 29 was his potent pitcher for the week. But he still managed to edge me out. And you'll see that's even more impressive because Story with 35 points was one of our best batters. Brandon Woodruff with 31 points was my best pitcher for the week, but this is, again, one of those little tricky situations where a pitcher on my staff was one of the best pitchers for the week in Drew Rasmussen. He was a potent pitcher for the week with 46 points. However, only 27 of them came with me because 19 of them came with with Ace, pardon me.
Yeah, maybe I should have held on to Rasmussen.
Yeah, you know, look.
That one kind of made me after,
We'll see. He's a Ray, so his arm will explode in like 2 weeks, and then he'll be fine with it. But he, did split points between the two of us. So he was one of the potent pitchers for the week, if not one of my potent pitchers for the week.
Yeah, way to give Zang the better matchup or the better performance, Rasmussen. What the fuck,
I know. Oh boy, not doing the math on that those points. Although that wouldn't have been quite enough for you. Close though. The difference there. Yeah.
Now, our one.
Yes, our final matchup of the week.
Damn, man.
We saved this for last for a reason. You want to save the best for last, of course. Third place Flaming Prius going up against sixth place Hideki. And the first time they matched up, it was about as close as it can get. Prius did beat Hideki by just 2 points. And since then, they've stayed neck and neck in the standings with each other. So the head-to-head matchup is very, very important here. Frankly, if Hideki wanted any chance of passing Prius pretty much outside of, a miracle fall, he needed to win this week. And you know what? He got off to a good start. 83 points from Hideki on that first day as Prius scored just 55. Framber putting up 33 points for Hideki. Boy, was that nice for him. Then pardon me. I clicked off. I lost my flow. Doggone it. There we go. We're back. On Tuesday, Prius had a pretty strong day, though. Pretty strong, 167, not too bad. Riley Green with 18, Duran with 11, Freed with 32, and Nick Lodolo with 22. Aaron Ashby over on the other side, relief pitcher, had 17 points on a 3-inning save for Hideki, so that was pretty solid for him. Prius held the lead through Wednesday as well, scoring 38 to the 40 points over on Hideki's side. Prius held the lead through Thursday as well, despite scoring negative points. -8 for him on that day, and only 6 points for Hideki on that low-scoring Thursday. Ryan Pepio with -7 points was most of the culprit there for Flaming Prius. But Hideki punched back strong on Friday, coming back with his own 100-plus point performance, 141 for him, as Bobby Witt and Benintendi both put up 11, Logan Gilbert with 23, Ranger Suarez with 26, and Waka capping it off with 38 points. Prius, knowing the stakes of the matchup, pulled the lead back on 80 points on Saturday, thanks to 33 from Skubal, and it sure did all seem over for Hideki until the 110 points he put up secured him the win on Friday. 17 points from Zach Neto would not be enough to hold the lead for Prius. We did see 11 from Taylor Ward and 32 from Edward Cabrera on Hideki's side. A very, very close, exciting back-and-forth matchup, which has some serious standings implications, ended in a 44-point spread. Hideki scoring 487 points and Prius 443. Both teams now sit at 11-7, and they each have one win against each other, meaning for the rest of the season, as long as their matchup or their record stays the same, their order in the standings depends all on total points scored.
And I just want to say really quickly, how much did Hideki win by today?
44 points.
44 points. Hideki is only ahead of wait, who did he take on?
Prius.
Okay, yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, he took on Prius. He is only 39 points ahead of Prius right now in terms of total points scored on the year. So about as close as you can get. Quite literally, this matchup is what put him ahead, to, of course, even up the standings against each other, and to also take the lead in total points scored. So this is going to be very, very close. Definitely two teams we're going to be keeping an eye on going down the rest of the season. And it's going to be very, very, very fun to watch.
Yes. Yeah. This matchup totally lived up. We obviously hyped it up quite a bit last week, and it totally lived up to the hype.
Oh, it was, in every way.
Oh my God, right down. I mean, even with the, huge 17 points from Neto there for Flaming Prius. But yeah, gutsy win for Hideki. Very strong there. And yeah, they're now tied in record, tied in, head-to-head matchup. And,
What's up?
Oh, yes, pardon me. Prius is, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at, we're hearing a little live pod right now. I'm looking at the standings, and it actually has Prius ahead of Hideki.
Yeah. Oh. Huh.
Even though
Has
they
should.
It should have updated.
I actually do see that now as well.
Huh. I'm missing something.
There's definitely something we're not seeing.
Yeah. All right, but, I guess we go off those ranks. It may just not have quite updated the head-to-heads yet. So
Fantrax knowing to have some technical issues.
Yeah, it's
not out of the question.
There's some great stuff with it and some not so great stuff with it. So,
by the way, if you're wondering why Framber, after putting up a 33-point performance on Monday, somehow well, actually, I'll let you read.
Yeah, we will talk over the 33 points would not make him Hideki's best pitcher there. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, he did have another start. We'll talk about that one.
Yeah, Neto with 35 points was Flaming Prius's best batter, pardon me. And Luis Castillo with 43, his potent pitcher. Over on Hideki's side, 25 points from Jorge Polanco made him the best batter on his team, and 51 points from Edward Cabrera made him not only Hideki's best pitcher, but one of the league's best pitchers this week. Yeah, Framber, 33 points. And then he came up against the Red Sox today. And it's amazing how this has changed my baseball watching experience, because as I'm watching the Red Sox, I mean, absolutely abuse a pitcher who has made sandwiches out of us for years. I mean, it is a well-known fact in like the Red Sox, zeitgeist that when we go up against Framber, it's like we are getting absolutely demolished. And so they're like bunting on this guy. They're getting him to balk. They're hitting doubles. They're hitting triples. They're stealing bags. And the whole time I'm thinking, oh God, I feel so bad for Hideki because I know he was counting on this. Like it just...
Thankfully did not matter.
It didn't matter. It's true. But it fantasy changes the way you watch baseball for sure. Yes, especially when we know everyone so well.
Yeah, definitely got some help from some of his bullpen guys there. Picked up a little bit of the slack. But yeah, definitely tough to see. Although not for me, I hate the Astros. But fantasy wise, definitely hate to see that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, it was so sad to see the Red Sox sweep them. That was terrible.
Let's get on to the standings.
Yeah, let's move on. We'll head on down to our standing segment. Ace, what are the standings looking like, my friend?
Yeah, so Mike, like we mentioned, after that very, very close win against me, takes sole possession back of first place at 12-6 there. Only one game ahead of the next group, and we'll get to them in a second, but very impressive. Obviously, Mike, the favorite, has been the favorite for a while. Man, he just finds a way to win, and ultimately that's all you need to do in this league. Getting on to the next group, and this entire next group will round out our entire playoffs so far. This will be the playoff line group, as I call it. All at 11-7. Flaming Prius holding that 2 spot. Hideki at the 3 spot. Peach and Bose at 4 and 5 with JMC at 6. Although JMC, rare occasion, you come away with a win, still move down the standings. Just shows how tight this league is. That not even wins at this point guarantee you to even stay at your current position. Moving down solely at the 9-9. Only person at 9-9 in this league is myself. Did not move in terms of standings. Obviously stayed at the 7th spot, but did move back significantly in terms of a playoff spot. Obviously, as I mentioned, that top group 11-7, myself 9-9. So 2 full games behind them with only 4 left to play. Oki Sooner by himself at 8-10 as well, right beneath me. Still kind of clawing his way there, trying to scratch him and fight into a playoff spot. Moving in now to the kind of bottom half now. These are the, I don't want to say eliminated, but we're almost about there. It's getting late. This is the 11:55 p.m. group, and this is Al Martinet and Inten at 7 and 11 each. And then we got Zang. It's over. Sorry, Zang.
Yeah, it's done.
Unfortunately, it's done.
It's all for pride at this point.
It's all for pride at this point. There were rumblings, but it is unfortunately over. Zang at 6 and 12, and then Serial Chillers, our resident basement dweller, sitting at 4 and 14, going to be winning the sweepstakes for the number 1 overall pick going into the draft this year. And yeah, that is how our standings sit. Still very, very close. Obviously, nothing locked yet. I think the only things locked are Mike is a playoffs in a playoff spot, and Zang and Serial are eliminated. But anything could still happen with the other 9 teams. So yeah, definitely going to be an exciting next month.
Yeah,
say the least.
I'm just looking at this. Teams 2 through 6 are all tied in terms of record, all at 11-7.
Yep.
It's airtight there. Before we move on, there is a very important someone I forgot to shout out, and that is Charlie Morton, who scored 23 points, literally winning JMC the matchup on Sunday. I'm sorry I didn't mention him earlier.
I was wondering, was he not one of the best pitchers? Or?
He was not one of the best pitchers for the week because I think he was just on JMC's roster for that last matchup. But he obviously scored enough to be notable there. 23 points on Sunday did deliver him the win. Chuck, I'm sorry I didn't mention you earlier, but I'm glad you had a good first start over there in Detroit, and nice work by JMC snagging him off of waivers. So before we get into bench blunders, I want to talk over the best bats for the week. So in terms of total points scored, here were the actual top 5 in order from 1 to 5. Andrew Vaughn with 50, William Contreras with 49, Gunnar Henderson with 47, Trevor Story with 43, and Lenyon Sosa with 42. As you might remember, for our keen listeners, only 2 of those guys actually made the best bats list. That would be because Andrew Vaughn was picked up midweek. William Contreras lost, I had the number up. He lost a total of 19 points on JMC's bench this week. Henderson and Story made the list, obviously. Lenyon Sosa was a midweek pickup. Ramirez made the list, as we talked about. Christian Yelich missed over 20 points on JMC's bench. Colson Montgomery was a midweek trade. Freddie Freeman missed a bunch of points on someone's bench.
Hey.
No. I don't know who we're talking about here. Yeah, it could be anyone. Could be any Dodgers fan in the league. Which did leave Volpe and Shea Langoliers both with 35 points scored as 2 of our best batters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The 10th and 11th best batters for the week were actually our 4th and 5th best batters for the week.
Wow,
so
we suck.
This was a supremely weird week for best batters.
Yeah,
I just wanted to generally shout that out before we moved on.
That's hilarious, actually.
Yeah, that was pretty weird. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I know this is not right. Yeah, but speaking of which, if you are having trouble with your batters and you need some better ones, you'll be able to find those in the wasted waivers. But before we do that, we are going to cover bench blunders. And we are making a little bit of a change to the bench blunders format. As you all know, leading up to last week, it had just been like a list of names. You're just kind of rattling them off, and it kind of gets lost in it. So we're doing a top 3 format now. It is going to be the top 3 bats and the top 3 arms in terms of total points missed on the bench. So if you miss 12 points on the bench, but another person misses 15, another person misses 21, and another person misses 17, you're off the hook. You're not getting mentioned. So it'll just be kind of a running format. And so it's really those 3 big ones that really got lost there. And I'll start us off with Austin Riley, who on Monday scored 14 points for in 10, but unfortunately that would be on his bench. William Contreras, who heated up quite a bit as of late, had 15 points on JMC's bench on Wednesday. And Kyle Manzardo, who showed up here a number of times. Boy, has he been pretty hot or red hot or ice cold. On Tuesday, he had 19 points on Serial's bench. He was the most blundered bat. How about those arms, Ace?
Yeah, starting off with the number 3 spot here was going to be, kind of going back to back here, Serial with Logan Henderson dropping 15 for him on Sunday. And then Zach Littell dropping 19 points on Mike's bench on Wednesday. And to wrap it all up, he still got it, folks. Clayton Kershaw dropping 28 points on Bose's bench on Friday. Ultimately wouldn't have mattered for Bose. However, 28 points is a big haul to leave on the bench. So that easily took not only the biggest blunder on the arms, but throughout any player this week, Clayton Kershaw had the most points.
Absolutely. And I won't say it out loud, but don't do the math on Logan Henderson scoring 15 points on Sunday for serial chillers. Don't do that math. It's okay. It's okay. We'll move on down to wasted waivers, something I am very excited about. We are, again, moving to a little bit of a different format here. It's just instead of 2, we're doing 3 for each. We'll do kind of a countdown like we did for the last one, ending with the most valuable player who was left on waivers this week. Liover Piguero, which is a name I practiced, the Pittsburgh shortstop scored 37.7 points there. Spencer Horowitz, the Pittsburgh first baseman, second baseman, scored 39.4 points. And I have an excuse to use my new favorite sound drop because he scored 49.7 points. It's the Colorado third baseman.
We just gave up a home run to Warming Bernabel. The entire team is gambling.
I found that on TikTok the other day. I had to add it to my soundboard. Take a guess who they were playing. Who could that possibly be? So please, I beg of you, somebody pick up Warming Bernabel so I can continue to use that sound drop. 49.7 points. What I will say for these bats, obviously we know how crazy that Pittsburgh-Colorado series got, where they had I think there was a combined 30-something points in one of the games. All of the bats are from that series, so maybe take him with a grain of salt, but please, I beg of you, somebody pick up Warming Bernabel. Who doesn't want to have him on your team? Ace, what about the arms? Who are some wasted waiver arms that folks could pick up if they're looking for a start next week?
Well, to the shock of nobody, there's not going to be any Rockies or Pittsburgh pitchers on here.
Not so much.
So if you were expecting that, no, you're going to find all those over on the bat side. But however, on the arm side, we got banished to the Shadow Realm, redeemed is Aaron Savale with 37.3 points against the Angels this week. Man, probably should have picked him up when he was available, huh? 37 points on the bench. That is crazy. But the Angels, sorry, Hideki, kind of free-falling at this point. Not sure what's going on with that year or with that season. That division is, potentially open, so we could see what happens there. But when you're getting diced up by the White Sox, it's not great. Brendan Young, the second arm, with 38.8 points, dropped 22.2 versus Toronto and 16.6 versus Chicago. So two, obviously, playoff teams at the moment, and two very solid performances. The young pitcher in Baltimore. Love to see that. And then topping it off, he is a vet, talking about still gotten it. Yu Darvish dropping 40.4 points against the New York Mets. What a day for him against probably the hottest team in baseball right now. And yeah, definitely love to see that. Started. That one kind of hits a little close to home. Started this year on my IL. I tried to ride him out, and, it unfortunately did not pan out. But if you're in need of an arm, Padres did kind of push all their chips to the center of their table again for this season. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, only mistake there. Yu Darvish didn't pitch against the Red Sox. That's
What? Did I say Red Sox?
No. You said the hottest team in baseball. I was just I'm having fun. No, he does good against the Mets. And it is an interesting one with Darvish where I looked at it. He had, I think, 4 pretty crummy starts and then put out this really fantastic one against the Mets. So it's hard to say it's really wasted, but,
if you believe.
If you believe, maybe he's picking it up. And as you said, the Padres certainly invested there. So, winning breeds winning. Well, as you all know, this past Thursday, we had some fun watching, I would say, the best trade deadline since 2021.
Yeah, this was crazy, man.
It was so much fun.
And the Dodgers didn't do shit.
Yeah. For the two of us, not so much. But even as somebody who kind of feels like their team lost the trade deadline a little bit, it was crazy fun. Deals flying back and forth. And obviously, things a trade deadline has a little more implication because we have these guys beyond this year. So it's not just, that's going to be helpful for the rest of this year. It's thinking, oh shit, how is this guy's value affected overall? So Ace and I are going to play a little rapid fire game here. I will read out a player, who they got traded from, who they got traded to, and who owns them. And then Ace will answer it. He will answer it. Pardon me. I'm so sorry. I'm getting all wrong up. He will answer. Did the trade help or hurt their value? You'll get a feel for it as we go a little bit. We'll kind of just alternate, so you'll get to hear both of our opinions. And definitely let us know what you think in the Discord. I'm curious because it's a little bit, we're just going off feel here to see how everything goes. So I will start off with our first one, Mason Miller, going from the Athletics over to the Padres. He is owned by Ace. Ace, what do you think? Does that help or hurt his value?
I think it ultimately helps his value just because obviously the Padres are a much more competitive team, use the bullpen a lot more. When with the A's, you're not being that competitive. There's not that many opportunities for save situations. So I think points wise, although they already do have Ranger Suarez, not Ranger Suarez. What am I saying? Why am I blanking on his first name?
Oh, I know you're Robert Suarez.
Robert Suarez, thank you. Wow, he has my own name. Why the fuck am I doing that? That's terrible. But yeah, so they have Robert Suarez already, although he is obviously on the older side. So you think this is the move to ultimately bring your closer of the future over. So I think sorry, not to make it long, but yeah, ultimately help.
Yeah, not pitching in the sack either, which is good for him.
Yes, absolutely. Moving on to the next one now, Zang. We got Leo DeVries going over from, we just talked about it, San Diego back to the Athletics. This is on Big Peach's team. How do you think this affects him?
I think that this helps him a lot. Obviously, they have shortstop lockdown with Jacob Wilson, but as we mentioned before, he'll be hitting in Sacramento, which is a great hitting ballpark, and there will be all the run in the world for him to play, as the A's are still not quite in that competitive window yet. Wouldn't surprise me if he's up to start next year. This guy has crazy talent, and that bat will play in Sacramento. The next one is Carlos Correa, who made his homecoming to Houston, coming from Minnesota. He is owned by me after being picked up about 8 seconds after I got the passing notification. So that gives you a hint of what I think of the trade. Ace, what do you think? Help or hurt?
I think this has to be help. I mean, the Astros, they're competitive this year. They want to compete. Correa, he comes back home. It's a place he knows, a place he's won a championship. So I just think ultimately this is going to be good all around. Anytime a player can get back to being in that comfort zone, it's kind of scary for the rest of the league. So yeah, definitely a help.
Definitely help. I obviously agree.
Yeah, you obviously agree. Moving over to the next one. This was probably my favorite trade out of the entire deadline, just because the story is so great. Eugenio Suarez making his way back home from Arizona to Seattle. He's on Oki's team. Zang, tell us about it.
Yeah, although I agree, I love the trade. I love seeing him back in Seattle, which is, of course, now my local team up here in the Pacific Northwest. I do think this hurts his value. We've seen him not be as successful in Seattle when he was there a couple years ago. Arizona is such a good hitting environment. And although I do think he's in a better, more competitive lineup, I do think the ballpark factor is enough to hurt his value just a tick. Yohan Duran was our next player heading from Minnesota to Philly. He is owned by Mike. What do you think? Help or hurt?
I think this has to be help. Philly, obviously, we just saw him, Duran putting up points already with the Phillies, getting his first save, throwing the fastest pitch in Citizens Bank Park. Not that means anything, but I just think, for as many problems as the Phillies bullpen has had, hopefully he can provide some stability there at the closer position. And the Phillies are making a push. Last time we saw a big-time closer get dealt like this to a really great contending team, they broke an insanely long drought and ultimately won a world championship. So very exciting to see him.
Big time.
Moving on to the next one here, we got Mick Abel going back in that trade to Minnesota from Philly over on Bose's squad. Tell us about him, Zang.
Yeah, this feels like an obvious help to me. Heading from obviously a really, really challenging NL East, and that especially tough environment for a young player like Abel in Philly. Heading to Minnesota, stakes are lower. The AL Central is a much weaker division, especially after this deadline, and he has all the run in the world as a starting pitcher. Minnesota's depth is much less than Philly's, obviously. Helps a ton with Mick Abel's value. Eduardo Tate was the catcher heading over to Minnesota as well from Philly. In this trade, he is owned by serial killers. Real quick, what do you think about the catching prospect?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's really tough to tell. He is an insanely young prospect. I think he's only like 18 years old, barely about to turn 19. So, very tough to say what he can turn into. But Serial, one of those guys, he was a top prospect for Philly, of course. Minnesota, in essence, trying to find their next Joe Mauer. So, they're kind of hoping that this is it. But, kind of a little bit too early to tell, but I'll say help. I think he can be good over in Minnesota. And like I said, he's still very young.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next one, although the early returns were a little bit rough, David Bednar going from Pittsburgh to the Yanks over on Intense Squad. What do you think about that?
What do you think I'm going to say? Obviously, it's hurt. No, I won't be too mean. I do actually think that this has hurt. Moving from a market like Pittsburgh to a market like New York, and I think especially given the lack of clarity in the closer. You've got Devin Williams, you've got Luke Weaver, you've got Bednar now, you've got Doval. All of those guys were closing on those teams. We know bullpens thrive on knowing their role. Yeah. And I think that lack of clarity, as well as moving to a market like New York, is ultimately going to hurt his value a little bit. Merrill Kelly, one of the big additions on the deadline. He moved from Arizona to Texas. He is on Mike's team. What do you think? Help or hurt, Ace?
I think this is going to be a little bit of a hurt. Well, actually, I take that back. I think this will be a little bit of a help. Goes to a little bit of a better ballpark situation in Texas from Arizona. As we already mentioned, Arizona, a very hitter-friendly ballpark. But I think also the fact that he's going to a team that is, somewhat trying to make a push here, trying to contend. We still need to put in the call to the Rangers to see what the hell happened in 2022 or 23. Sorry, but yeah, definitely. I think this will be a slight help over for Mike's squad.
Definitely.
Moving on to the next one, I got Ryan Helsley here, moving from St. Louis to the Mets over on Big Peach's squad. Tell me about that.
I think this is a massive help for Helsley's value. St. Louis has had some weird mojo the last couple of years, and the Mets, since they got David Stern, have shown an unbelievable ability to kind of, tinker with a pitcher and get things right. I think this is huge, not only for the Mets, but for Big Peach as well. Another Big Peach pitcher coming up in Shane Bieber, who left Cleveland, where he won his Cy Young, and headed over to the Blue Jays in Toronto. Help or hurt?
Oh man, I want to say help. I mean, this has to be help for the Blue Jays. I mean, they kind of came out of nowhere this year when the Yankees really had that rough kind of month and a half that set them back a lot. The Blue Jays took that lead in the AL East with full force. So I really do think this should be help for them. They're making a strong push. They got some really good bats there to back him up. I think definitely help for them.
Yeah, but what do you think for Shane Bieber? Don't forget, because it's like in terms of his value for fantasy. Do you think this helps him moving from Cleveland to Toronto?
I don't think this helps him moving from Cleveland to Toronto with his soul value. I do think he kind of gets hurt a little bit in that ballpark. Obviously with the Guardians, we did see a little bit of kind of decline. Obviously his best years, I think, are behind him, but I think fantasy wise for him, the value goes down, but overall team wise, the value goes up.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been kind of thinking about like, how does their fantasy value change? As we're, looking at teams, I gotta say, I agree with you. Cleveland, so good at getting pitchers right. And I don't know, we'll see how it goes in Toronto.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Over on to the next one. Oh, wait.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
you.
it's
My
oh,
oh, that's me. That is me. Yeah, sorry. Ryan O'Hearn moving from Baltimore to the Padres. Once again on Bose's team. Does this help or hurt?
I have to say, I think this actually hurts. I feel like we've seen this move by the Padres a few times. I can't remember his name for the life of me. It started with a B, and he was a guy who played on the Angels, and he went Brendan something. He went
Donnie?
over
Oh,
there.
wait. No.
He
Oh,
went
no.
over to the Padres. He played like first base, second base. Oh my God, somebody will remember his name. I feel like we've just seen this move a number of times with the Padres where they get the kind of surprisingly surging bat, and it just doesn't quite translate over. I feel like that's going to be the case for O'Hearn. I actually think this hurts his fantasy value for Bose heading over to the Padres. Ryan McMahon finally making his way from Colorado to the Bronx, owned by Mike. What do you think, Ace? Does that hurt or help his fantasy value?
I think it has to. Man, I want to say help so bad because of that short porch, but I almost want to say it hurts just because Colorado is such a great ballpark. I mean, so is New York, but I just feel like Colorado has so much more potential for pop. He's shown it. He's shown to be productive in Colorado. This is another case where I feel like for the team-wise, it's going to be obviously a huge addition and increase their value. But ultimately, for his fantasy value, I do think it takes a little bit of a turn. Moving on to the next guy, we do have Josh Naylor moving from Arizona to Seattle. Again, another Bose player. What do you think about that, Zang?
I gotta say, as much as my initial instinct is hurt, the Seattle fans are so just desperately passionate. And Naylor is such an emotional guy. I actually think that he will thrive in that environment. A fan base that is so desperate for playoffs, like in the best way possible. I do mean that.
Oh, yeah.
I genuinely think that it will help his value as a fantasy player. I think he is going to be better down the stretch for Seattle. Griffin Jax, as we get into the last few here, number 15. Griffin Jax went from Minnesota to Tampa. He plays for Bose. Boy, does Bose have a lot of guys on this list. This feels like a pretty obvious one, but what do you think? Minnesota to Tampa for a relief pitcher.
Yeah, it's definitely a hell of. I mean, come on. Tampa Bay is like a pitching machine factory. I think Griffin Jax is going to get insanely right. He was already pretty good with Minnesota, but I think we're going to see the peak of Griffin Jax over with the Rays for sure. Easy help. Going on to the next one, Taj Bradley, the Ray, going back to Minnesota in that trade over on JMC squad. What do you think about him moving to Minnesota? I think this is a pretty easy one here as well.
Well, hold on. Normally my policy is if a Rays can't figure out a pitcher, no one can. But guess who the Rays couldn't figure out and your Minnesota Twins did figure out?
Oh, you got me stumped. Who?
Red Sox for 3 minutes, according to Fox Sports, Joe Ryan. So, you know what? I'm going to gamble a little bit here. I'm going to say this actually helps Taj Bradley. I think Minnesota sees something in him, and they're going to try and unlock it. We've seen them do it once before for the Rays. I could totally get burned here because obviously this feels like he's going to be hurt by it, but I'll take a gamble. Camilo Doval, Tranquilo Camilo, heading over from the Giants to the Yankees on JMC's team. Now, what do you think, Ace, help or hurt?
Well, I think JMC is insanely happy about this just because he's a Yankees fan. So I'll say help for the sole fact that he is a Yankee now. You already mentioned the bullpen with Bednar. Obviously, this is the second bullpen piece the Yankees acquired in this offseason. Jesus Christ, during this trade deadline. So yeah, I think ultimately it'll be, I'll go with help. Maybe it's a bit of a gamble, but I'll say help. Moving on to the next one, we got Tyler Rogers, Tyler Rogers, although Taylor Rogers did get traded too. Tyler Rogers moving over from San Francisco to the Mets over on Hideki squad. What do you think, Zang? Help or hurt?
Yeah, insert Marge Simpson meme here. I do think this hurts a little bit. He's so comfortable in San Francisco. They know how to use him. They've been working with him for years. And obviously, Oracle is so pitcher-friendly, especially for a guy with a weird arm angle like that. I worry about this hurting his value a little bit. Zach Littell, the reliever turned starter, one of the few success stories there, headed from Tampa Bay over to Cincinnati. He is on Mike's team for the final time. Ace, help or hurt?
I mean, this has to be help for Zach Littell. I know, kind of breaking the tradition. Tampa, you can't figure, if the Rays can't figure out a pitcher, nobody can. But he's going to Cincinnati. It's a great ballpark for him to be in. It's basically like two polar opposites. You go from that Tampa Bay, kind of makeshift stadium over to, the Great American Ballpark, one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in the league. So I think ultimately this will be a help for Mike and Zach Littell.
Yeah, I do agree. Great American's actually quite hitter-friendly.
Oh, wow.
I don't know quite what it is. I don't think it's the dimensions, but for some reason, batters do quite well there. I do agree with you, though. I think this will help him and just being competitive and stuff like that on Cincinnati. I agree there. But yeah, I think it's up there in terms of ballpark factor.
Damn, I need to do a little bit more research then on my ballparks.
It's all right. There's a lot of ballparks.
There's 30 of them. There's a lot. All right, over on to the last one now. We got Cedric Mullins. This one has to hurt a little bit for Bose. Going over from Baltimore to the Mets, but strictly for fantasy value. Zang, does this help or hurt?
I believe that this helps. I think that Mullins works best when he is not the star. So I think being in that 7, 8, 9 spot in the Mets lineup, which is so much stronger. He's hitting ahead of Juan Soto and Pete Alonso and guys like that if he's at the bottom of the order. I think that it does help him. They were pretty desperately in need of a regular center fielder. They were not getting a lot of production from there, so I think he'll get quite a bit of run. I do think this helps his value for the time being.
And a great defensive piece too.
Great defensive piece, yeah. And I love Cedric Mullins. What a great guy. He
sorry, Bose.
Yeah, sorry. Hopefully, maybe he'll maybe come back in the offseason and be one of those re-signs. You never know. Hopefully. Sorry, we're running a little long here, folks. We obviously had a lot to cover. We do, of course, have a few trades to talk about. We had our own mini trade deadline covered here. Okie Sooner traded Max Fried and Carson Kelly over to Flaming Prius for Quinn Priester and Luke Keeschel, MLB's number 42 prospect and Minnesota's number 3. Whew.
Man, Quinn Priester, I did not think he was going to get moved, if I'm being honest.
I am shocked Fried was moved. I'm shocked it was for someone as
high sought after as Priester.
For someone like Priester. I mean, Priester was kind of a post-hype guy who had a couple good starts. I obviously hope it works out, but I would lean toward this might be one we look back on in a few years, say, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah. I mean, Brewers have been known to develop great pitchers. So, yeah.
And my guess would be that's Okie's bet here. And I think it's a fair bet, but boy, a guy with a track record like Fried going for Priester is heavy. Luke Keeschel's actually a batter I really like, so I think that's a great get for Okie there. And I've got hopes for Priester, obviously, but that is a strong pitching rotation getting even stronger for Prius with Fried. Speaking of Prius, he traded one of his big bats this year in PCA over to Al Martinet for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. No shortage of small names there.
Yeah, this was definitely one of the bigger trades, just obviously with the names there. I think this is Vlad's second time being traded, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
PCA obviously was off to that ridiculously hot start to the season, has definitely cooled off a little bit. So I think it's just a classic case of hopefully a new change of scenery does well for both these players. But yeah, definitely weird when you see those big names get moved, and definitely even weirder when it's a 1-for-1. Yeah.
Interesting 1-for-1. I think both have tremendously high ceilings. I feel like Vlad's floor is a lot higher, though. It feels like Prius, this could end up being an even trade, but I think if it's not an even trade, it's almost certainly going to be on Prius's side that, he comes out the winner with Vlad, who's just got a high floor there. Al Martinet keeps trading as Mike sent Brendan Donovan, Colson Montgomery, and Jojo Romero, and Carson Weisenhunt over to Al Martinet for Rafi Devers and Yohan Duran. This feels short-sighted by Al Martinet, I have to say. Rafi obviously got off to a slow start in San Francisco, but we know what kind of a hitter he is. I obviously know that firsthand. And boy, to get him from in 10 and then to trade him away for not a blue chip. I mean, Brendan Donovan, solid but unspectacular. Similarly with A guy like Jojo Romero, Carson Weisenhunt, and Colson Montgomery are young and could be good, but neither one are that real blue chip you want for Devers. Then also getting Yon Duran at the same time, this feels like a real steal for Mike, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this is just a classic case of, Al Martinez most likely out of, playoff contention this year, just trying to sell a lot of his players high while he can. And yeah, it's just, Mike loading up for the postseason, and his team looks absolutely terrifying.
It sure does. Oh my God, with the addition of a huge bat like that in Devers, and then of course shoring up the bullpen now with Duran, boy, that 12-6 record definitely matches what we're looking at. A little bit of a smaller one over here as Bows sent Tommy Edman and Jet Williams, who's number 38 on MLB, Mets number 1 prospect, over to Intent in exchange for Tyler Glasnow and my second round pick in this upcoming draft. Pretty solid, even trade here. Intent gets some younger guys in Williams and Edman, and Glasnow, who, obviously has had his injury concerns, but can be a phenomenal pitcher. He is the kind of guy that Bose wants in his rotation down the stretch as he's kind of, pushing for this title. I think it makes a lot of sense for both teams.
Yeah, I think definitely makes sense for both teams here. Definitely, it sucks also for Tommy Edman, just got put on the IL as well. So early returns there for Bose, just obviously getting somebody off the squad that was, not even going to be playing for the next couple of weeks or for the next, week or so. But, Tyler Glasnow obviously showing, good signs. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Yeah, definitely a big get for Bose here.
Absolutely. Okie Sooner traded Merrill Kelly over to Mike for Christian Javier, who is currently on the IL recovering from Tommy John, and Mike's second round pick there. This is obviously a win now push for Mike in Merrill Kelly, who's been great this year, and honestly a great get by Okie Sooner. That second round pick is not world changing, but certainly is helpful. But Christian Javier is a guy I have always loved. I remember a few years ago, Jolly Olive, who's done a great job of predicting Cy Youngs, predicted him as the AL Cy Young. And that's a guy who really dives, deep into stats and everything. I know Foolish Baseball is another guy who's been really high on Javier. This is me kind of parroting, stat guys' opinions, but a lot of people really like him. When I see him pitch, man, it looks like it. So, that is obviously a play for next year as he hopes to come back from TJ pretty early, but I think that is a great play for both teams. We did have an
interpod trade.
An interpod trade. Thank you. Those are the words I was looking for. As Ace sent Drew Rasmussen and Kyle Finnegan over to me for Eduardo Quintero, who is ranked 79 on MLB and number 4 in the Dodger system, and Anthony Bender. I can share my side, and then you share your side. Obviously, I know we probably both think we did all right since we accepted the trade. Finnegan and Bender feel pretty lateral for me. I like both of them as relief pitchers. Even more once Finnegan headed over to Detroit. Looks like he has closing duties there, so I really like that. Rasmussen just felt like a high-end arm that I need. I'm looking back, and boy, I have Crochet, who's got 500-something points, and then a lot of guys in the 200s. And I need some of those 300-400 guys, so I kind of targeted that in Rasmussen. And I don't want to give away too many of my sources, but from some people who know quite a bit about fantasy baseball, I kind of read some stuff about Eduardo Quintero being a real helium prospect. So being a Dodgers fan that he is, I approached Ace with that idea.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously the trade of Kyle Finnegan from Washington to Detroit, I think ultimately gave you the win of this trade. That really sucked to see that trade happened after, of course, this one happened. Definitely probably should have waited. But, I wanted to jump on the opportunity, obviously, for Eduardo Quintero, and I liked Anthony Bender.
Mm-hmm.
And, a couple of guys here, Finnegan and Rasmussen on the wrong side of 30, just trying to get a little bit younger. But yeah, definitely that one hurt a bit when I saw the trade afterwards. I'm like, damn, Kyle Finnegan is now going to be a lockdown closer for Detroit, and I'm going to cry in a ball.
Definitely helps in there, although Anthony Bander's been fantastic. The Marlins have been fantastic.
I really thought he was going to be a piece that got moved.
He seemed like it.
They believe in him, and he's going to stay there, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Our penultimate trade is JMC, who's sending Luis Robert over to Al Martinet for Camilo Doval. Of course, JMC trying to get his hands on the new Yankee reliever. He did send a third-round pick on there over to Al Martinet as well. Not a great start for Camilo, but he is obviously a very good relief pitcher. And Luis Robert, boy, I have for years been under the belief now that the second he gets out of Chicago, we are going to see the player we thought he would be. Question is, when does that happen? And it has not happened yet. So we'll see how this turns out. I think the real time to kind of judge this trade is after that happens, because while he's in Chicago, he's just not doing much. But boy, if he gets traded, to the Mets or the Phillies or the Dodgers or, those places he's always been rumored, I think we could see a pretty big swing for Al Martinet. But in the meantime, Camilo should be good in Yankees bullpen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think wrapping up these trades now, the final trade of this week, we have Big Peach trading Brandon Lowe over to Mike for a 2027 second round pick. That is Mike's 2027 second round pick. So not this next year's draft, but the following year. And obviously, I think Peach just trying to acquire some capital, kind of playing the long game here. I think it's a little bit smart. I think Mike has definitely shown that he is going all in this year. So kind of banking on maybe not the downfall coming next year, but the year after is definitely a solid move on his part. And Mike, like we mentioned, just trying to go all in this year, acquiring any players that he can, just another infielder for him to use.
Yeah, and Peach is in a great spot there with Marcus Semien at second base. So,
Yeah.
Lau was expendable to an extent for him.
Absolutely.
We do have 3 more days until our final trade deadline, so we might see a few more of those coming up, but those will happen during our next week. What is next week looking like, my friend?
Yeah, so next week, man, we got some great matchups. This first one is probably my favorite. We got the classic case of top versus bottom. Serial 12th place taking on Mike in first. To the surprise of no one, Mike is favored in that game. Serial with a chance to pull the ultimate underdog story here, and upset. So we'll see. We're all rooting for you, Serial, with Mike being in sole possession of first place. The entire league is rooting for you here. Moving on now to the next matchup, we got JMC taking on Inten. JMC, of course, in that 6th spot, definitely fighting to try and claw his way higher. He is that last playoff spot. He does have a quote-unquote easier matchup this week with Inten, obviously being in 10th place. Inten, this is pretty much it for him. Win here and he stays alive. Lose here and it's all over. JMC is favored in this one, but we shall see what happens next week. Moving over to our next matchup, we got Zang taking on Hideki. Zang, of course, in 11th spot, Hideki in 3rd. To the surprise of no one again, Hideki favored over Zang. But again, we're looking for some big upsets here. So Zang with a chance to do something incredible and disrupt the league.
Spoiler time.
Spoiler time. Yes, sir. Moving over to the next matchup here, we got myself, Ace, taking on Oki Sooner. This, not even trying to be biased here, but this has to be the matchup of the week, in my opinion. This is essentially the fight for both of us to stay alive. I am at 9-9. Oki is at 8-10. So he is in a little bit more of a must-win situation than I am. However, with me already being 2 games back of the players in, 2nd through 6th, I definitely cannot afford, and with only 4 weeks left, I definitely cannot afford to take another loss here. So going to be a great matchup nonetheless, 7th versus 8th, and Oki is favored in this one. Moving on to our second to last match, we have Al Martinet in 9th taking on Big Peach in 4th. Peach is favored in this one, and I do think Peach should take this one pretty handily. Al Martinet, of course, one of the players that we also think is officially out of playoff contention. So Big Peach, again, just trying not to get upset. A lot of upset spoiler potential matchups this week, so definitely exciting and definitely going to keep our eye on them. And wrapping it all up, the last matchup of the week, another big matchup here. 2 playoff teams. I think this is the only matchup with 2 playoff teams in it. and it's going to be Bose taking on Prius. Bose, of course, in that 5th spot, Prius in that 2nd spot, but as we mentioned, both of them holding the same record. Prius is favored in this matchup, of course, with that insanely dominant pitching staff, but Bose obviously fighting to climb his way up the rankings, obviously in a playoff spot with that 5th seed, but never stop the grind.
We should see. Absolutely. Should be a fun week to keep an eye on. Hopefully Sunday is as fun next week as it was this week. We are looking forward to recapping it with you then.
Absolutely. It's been a fun year so far, and man, we're in the home stretch now. 4 more weeks, gentlemen.
4 more weeks.
Do you know what that makes you, Larry?
Lollygagger.
Lollygagger.